Our third keynote speaker today is Chris Dermody, CIO at Denver Water. He's going to be speaking with us about defining a path for smart water in a converged IT and OT world. So please join me in welcoming Chris to the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'd like to share some perspectives from Denver Water's point of view on our path to creating a path for implementing smart water in a converged IT and OT world. So this afternoon, if this clicker will do its thing. Ooh, it did.
It's on the screen.
Cool.
Too.
So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about who we are at Denver Water, some of our challenges and some of the things that we're doing about them. I'd also like to talk to you about smart water and what is it, particularly in our context. I'd like to share some challenges around smart water that are really influencing our strategy, as well as some challenges in the way we've been running IT, which interestingly are tightly connected to our smart water strategy. And then I'd like to tell you a little bit about our overall new strategy and our implementation progress. Try this one. So Denver Water, we're Colorado's oldest and largest water utility. Our mission, of course, thank you, is to deliver clean, sustainable, safe water for the citizens of the city and county of Denver and surrounding communities, about 1.4 million people on a 7x24 basis. We operate in 13 counties, so we're fairly large. We have a watershed that represents about 4,000 square miles. No surprise, we're the third largest landowner in the state. We have a lot of operational infrastructure, treatment plants and vaults and SCADA and telemetry. Clearly, we're, I believe, in the business of both designing, building, operating, and maintaining critical infrastructure. At least that's what the guys at DHS tell us. It's all pretty critical stuff. So our big challenges. Number one, climate change, droughts, water supply risk. It all starts with the Colorado River in our backyard. So we're at the headwaters, so we've got access to an awful lot of water, but it's not all ours. As you can see from the map, there's a set of upper basin states and lower basin states. This is a regional challenge. The amount of water that is in the river every year has been decreasing over the past many decades. 100 years, roughly 100 years ago, the allocations were set as to how much water each agency, each state was able to divert. The river doesn't have that much water in it over the past couple of decades. This is a challenge, clearly a regional problem. We also have challenges from a regulatory perspective. You've all heard about lead service lines. We're a 100-year-old utility. We've got a few lead service lines, and we're taking steps, rather aggressive steps, to eliminate them. Aging water systems, we all have that challenge. With age comes resiliency issues and clearly an infrastructure renewal plan that has to be pretty aggressive over the course of the next 2 decades. From a water supply perspective, we're trying to address that by diversifying our supplies, relying more on recycled water, building actually more storage facilities in the mountains. I sure hope we have water to put in them once we've got them built. But we're going down that path pretty strongly. We're also focusing on conservation, building on our 30 years of encouragement with our customers to use less and less of our product. That's an interesting challenge. That one is a combination of 2 things, education and tools. By the way, education, we think, is more important than tools. Education is what literally changes the ethos of our customers and buys their support for using less and less of our product. But we do provide tools. In fact, we use some smart water tools to help them understand their consumption and how to manage it more efficiently. So those smart water tools, there's my segue. So what about smart water? What is it and where does it fit, particularly into our utility context? First off, is it an IT thing or an OT thing? As you know, many organizations, many utilities differentiate IT and OT. They're in separate parts of the organization, managed and directed, and even strategized separately. So what is it? Which camp should it be in? Before answering that question, I'd like to share my own bias, admittedly, on this IT-OT construct. I like to look at IT as the overarching construct that encompasses both business technology and operational technology. So IT at the top, business and OT. I think that's an important way to look at things because it brings the concept a little bit tighter together. Here's what it looks like in a simple graphic. Think of IT as the Uber organization and the Uber strategy. BT and OT as integral parts connected together. So let's reframe the question. Is smart water a business technology or an operational technology thing? So when you think about smart water, you probably think about operational technology that provides intelligence and insights to make smart decisions to help utilities become more efficient and effective, providing ultimately value for our customers. You might also think of smart water as IoT-connected sensors, bringing all kinds of data, like pressures and flows and water quality analytes and leak detection and consumption, into real-time dashboards, triggering real-time event detection, driving smarter decisions that are more effective for our operations and our customers' benefit. You might think of next-generation control systems, implementing high-performance HMIs, again, allowing operators to make more efficient and effective decisions, ultimately for the betterment of our customers. However, I think smart water goes way beyond operational technologies, as I was just describing them. I think it relates also to all of the systems and processes that support the delivery of water directly or indirectly. Clearly, AMI, for example, and customer demand management. Those applications have to be smart water, right? They have to be. What about the entire space of demand management and conservation? That all drives smart water behavior. What about things like predictive modeling and real-time decision-making, systems for optimizing the way we collect, treat, and distribute water? Certainly, those are smart water systems. But there's more. And I just forgot to put my first slide up of the day. So we just talked about that slide, and now we're going to talk about more stuff. It seems to me that work and asset management systems are also core to smart water. It seems to me that communication systems, imagine radio systems, RF solutions that integrate the communication between treatment, collection, distribution, emergency management, and other important functions, that's got to be smart water too. How about an integrated ERP system? Could that possibly be thought of as smart water? Really? Accounting and payroll? But if you think about it, if you do a nice job with your ERP and it's highly integrated, that helps you manage your human capital resources, your time reporting, your project portfolio planning and execution, providing better transparency and higher accountability. Clearly that's got to be smart water, at least in my view. It seems to me that smart water and smart technology are fundamentally containing the characteristics of enhancing information availability and knowledge for both customers and employees, as well as enabling new service offerings to help respond to customer demands well beyond simply price and reliability, which we've been historically very good at. So based on all the smart water examples that I've just mentioned, I think the distinction between IT and OT is essentially irrelevant. I hope you agree. I think it doesn't matter. Some describe smart water and smart technology as the two-way digital communication across the entire utilities value chain. There's that word, digital, which may lead us to that other phrase that you're probably familiar with, digital utility. So what is that as it relates to smart water? Some define a digital utility as increased customer and utility engagement using digital tools. Others describe it as increased engagement among employees in the way they perform their work, using mobile workforce automation and optimization tools to perform their jobs with more readily available information. Okay, that's all fine, but do we understand the distinction or the difference between smart water and a digital utility? Is it a difference without a meaningful distinction? Does it even matter? I would propose to you that it doesn't. It doesn't matter. From my organization's perspective at Denver Water, we've taken a broad, holistic perspective on smart water, which has helped us understand a number of challenges that are pretty important. So these challenges are important because we're going to have to make some choices with smart water. Before we can make these choices, we ought to have a smart strategy that informs the answers to some pretty important questions. For instance, what's important to us? What are our aspirational goals, and how does smart water fit into them? What's holding us back from achieving our aspirational goals? Is it vision? Before I go there, I'll go back one. Is it vision? Clarity of vision, lack of vision? Do we have operational issues getting in our way of moving down a smart water path? Financial issues, the old Capex, OpEx battle. What about people, culture, and talent? Are those constraints? Do we have external stakeholder constraints? I think the answer to all these questions is, yep, these are all challenges for us. Whatever the combination of these challenges might be, I think we're going to probably have to resolve them, as you would in your organizations as well, if you're going to set a course for implementing smart water in your organization. What areas should we be focused on first when it comes to smart water? We have a potpourri of options. We have a menu. We could start with our collection system, or our distribution system, or our treatment system, or our water quality processes, or our customer demand management, or our overall customer engagement. I think they're all ripe. They're all highly potential, but we have to make some choices. How do we define value when it comes to potential smart water initiatives? Is it all about ROI? Or does value include improvements in the effectiveness and the way we deliver service at a higher level, even if it costs more? That's a question that we should ask and answer. More challenging yet, how do we measure value, particularly measure value achieved versus the value proposition of that latest and greatest smart water initiative? What does smart water innovation look like for us? So as a utility, should we be creating smart water solutions? Or should we simply be implementing others' creation of smart water solutions, or some combination? What's the right balance? What's the mix? Another good set of questions for us. What's out there and in the marketplace? And what are the risks and what are the costs? We need to learn about that. We need to be interested in reliability, longevity, and certainly, in today's world, security. After all, it's all about running critical infrastructure. So these are some questions that we needed to ask and answer. What about the move away from buying things to buying services? Buying services is an integral part of most smart water technology. You don't buy a box and plug it in and run it yourself. Typically, you're buying a service. Are we ready to start outsourcing critical controls within our operations to third-party service providers? Ooh, that's a change, something we haven't really been doing for 100 years. What about the financial implications of shifting from Capex investments to operational expenses for smart water? Are we ready to make that shift? Can we actually afford it, particularly given the pressure that's on us year after year after year to keep our rate increases smooth, small, and predictable? A question yet to be answered. I think all of these questions ought to be answered through the development of a smart strategy that incorporates our business needs and identifies a set of technology investment principles that we should keep in front of us and follow regimentedly. So now to shift a little bit and talk about some challenges within the IT space itself and the way we've been running IT. Well, for many years, we've been spending a boatload of money on IT at Denver Water. A ton, probably more than any other water utility at least on a per capita or a percent of revenue basis. The problem was, it was not all strategic. Every business area was getting their slice of the IT pie. And it was a big pie, and they all liked it. However, again, it wasn't strategic. I'll elaborate on that in just a bit. Yet at the same time, we weren't spending a bunch of money on operational technology. It was all business technology where we were focused. On the OT side, we were often implementing minimal systems, minimal control systems, did the job but nothing beyond. We often overlooked the analytics and the opportunity to optimize operational decision-making in our OT solutions. So given these challenges, we had to change the way we were running IT. We needed to figure out a smarter way, more strategic way to make decisions about our IT investments for both BT and OT. Had to do it, and we believed we had to do it now. But there were more challenges. We thought we were done, but we're not done. More challenges include the way we were planning and delivering IT solutions. We weren't rigorous enough in our planning and budgeting, which often caused us to be late in our delivery, under budget, or over budget. And actually, both aren't good. If we're under budget, that's not a win. That simply means we've collected a bunch of revenue from our ratepayers that we didn't spend. That's not good management. We were also not being very transparent or sufficiently accountable, particularly with our board, our executive team, and all of our business stakeholders. And this seeded some underlying frustration of not knowing whether we were actually providing the value that we said we would be. So, given these core IT challenges, we took on the development of a smarter, business-driven IT strategy to transform the way we invest in IT and the way that we deliver BT and OT solutions in the organization. So never mind smart water for a second. We felt we had to optimize IT first because IT had to be the foundation for smart water delivery. That's right. So I mentioned those technology investment principles. They're pretty straightforward, actually fairly simplistic. I'd just like to quickly walk through them with you. The first one is be business-driven. Makes sense, but I probably should have worded it slightly differently and said be holistically business-driven. We're business-driven, always have been. One part of the business is doing something, another part of the business is doing something else. They ought to be working together, but they're not. That's a problem. So this principle says be business-driven, implying holistically as a business. Be service-oriented. In today's world of technology evolution, particularly with smart technologies, they're being offered on a service basis as opposed to on an on-premise basis or even developed in-house, perhaps worse yet. Be strategic about our best-of-breed thinking. We don't need to have best-of-breed everything. I only thought that for a couple of decades. I've now been reformed. Unless it's a strategic differentiator, it doesn't need to be best of breed. Minimize software development. That one goes hand in hand with the be service-oriented principle. We're not a software development house. Yeah, we've got some skills. Yeah, we've got some attitude. We can do stuff. We like it. We love it. But it's not necessarily the most strategic thing to do. We can't bring the kind of investment and expertise to bear that's available in the marketplace on a service-oriented basis. And lastly, and not least, be a fast follower, which basically means don't be cutting edge, don't be bleeding, but don't be a laggard either. Be a fast follower, keep an eye on the market and where it's going. Next, we established a Business Technology Management Office, a BTMO as we like to call it. Everything in IT, as you know, needs to minimally have a TLA. Well, this one is an FLA. So this Business Technology Management Office is focused on business case-driven demand management. The business case-driven part is really important. That changes everything. If we, as an organization, can't develop a compelling business case for something, we should not do it. And we've made that clear, and that has changed the perspective of the entire organization as to how we invest in IT. It's comprised of, the BTMO is comprised of senior level stakeholders representing both the BT and the OT scopes. It's closely connected with our capital improvement planning process. And we established an executive oversight committee, which meets literally every 2 weeks. I host a stand-up every 2 weeks with our entire executive team to review where we are, issues, challenges, and roadblocks on our business technology transformation journey. We created an evolving 5-year roadmap, and importantly, engage our board in the development and the review of that roadmap. This is critical. The board wants to have policy-level direction on everything that we do. They're not necessarily crazy about all the detailed technical insights about how we implement, but they want to make sure the direction is proper. So this 5-year evolving roadmap helps us achieve that. We've also enhanced our accountability and performance with the BTMO and IT, remember, which includes BT and OT, working together to be very transparent about our project performance reporting. We report our project performance in the context of scope, schedule, and budget in the colors red, yellow, and green. It's very simple. We have an objective to be strong in our project performance. I'm going to give you a number. It's 85%. Some might say, really? That's not that high. But we haven't made 85% in a long time. It's hard to be 85% green on all of your projects, 85% of your projects, in terms of scope, schedule, and budget, on a month-by-month basis. Anyway, that's our standard, that's our stretch goal and our metric that we report against. We are now also producing a quarterly IT balance scorecard. More on that in just a second. This is that second. So the balance scorecard, it has 8 metrics, each with an annual stretch goal. The project delivery performance, I kind of just alluded to that. That's one of our metrics. We report it essentially every month. It rolls into a scorecard quarterly and annually. We keep track of our percent of projects that meet or exceed the planned benefits. That's that value verification thing that proves to ourselves and the business that we're doing what we said we would do. And if we're not, we're going to learn from it. On the spending front, IT spend on a per user basis. That's one of our targets. Remember I said earlier that we were spending a ton on technology? Well, we're trying to dial that down to be maybe 3/4 of a ton. This metric's helping us get there. And of course, total spend as a percent of revenue. That's another benchmark, another metric. None of these are perfect, but in collection, in totality, they allow us to have a balanced set of priorities and things to strive for. Oh, there's more. That was only 4. Here's 4 more. So business impact outage minutes. That's a pretty important one for us. I mean, we strive to have 99.99% availability across all of our BT and OT systems. That doesn't leave much room. Last year, we almost made it. We were 99.98. We missed it literally by 4 minutes over the course of a year. This year, we've totally blown it. We had a small disaster. It knocked out power in both of our data centers, and we were offline and dark for 2 hours. So this year's metric is shot. But we know what happened. We've taken steps to correct it. These metrics help motivate us to do the right things. The vendor management index, another important metric on our scorecard. As we shift to more and more service-oriented solutions, we're obviously dealing with more and more vendors, and not in the traditional way. But these are service vendors providing technology. So we measure that. And lastly, not least, is our security defense maturity score. Everybody knows security is a big issue, particularly in our space. We're running critical infrastructure. I don't know about your organizations, but ours gets dinged several million times a day with various forms of cyber attacks. So this is no small matter for us. And we measure this on a capability maturity index, a 1 to 5 kind of an index. We also, while we were at it, we fundamentally restructured IT along the way I alluded to earlier, with BT and OT supported by a common security layer and a common infrastructure layer. It's pretty clear that there's an undeniable overlap, actually an opportunistic synergy between operational technology and business technology, and they both need to be in IT. in my humble opinion. The traditional silos of IT typically focused on the business technology things, and OT really can't effectively advance smart water initiatives independently. There's so much overlapping technology and scope between these two that it can be very difficult to identify the line of demarcation. Maybe we shouldn't. We've decided we're not going to worry about making that distinction. But more importantly, smart water and governance and strategy can't effectively be done in silos. They need to be done holistically from a global organization perspective. With our restructuring, we also found a way to find the money. That made all the difference. So in conclusion, with my 1 minute left, with our ongoing implementation of our business-driven IT strategy, we believe we are really defining a path to wisely implement smart water solutions and truly become a world-class digital utility. The next steps, like I said, the next steps involve clearly understanding and gaining exposure and insights into the marketplace, what's available. It's a very rapidly changing environment, and it really involves continuous collaboration, review, and planning over and over, rinse and repeat, as I'd like to say, with our stakeholders. My hope for your takeaway from this conversation is that smart water needs to be an integral part of your overall business-driven operational and business technology strategies, including the non-fun parts or the non-exciting parts. Put your arms around all of it. Don't try and make it a special or a separate thing. Thank you.